Fasten your seatbelt. I am taking you for the ride of your life. I'm going to show you what this car can really do. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Hang on.
Okay.
Here we go.
Hold on to your butts.
Go get him, kid.
It might be a tumor.
It's not a tumor. Not a tumor at all.
F? You're going to ask me. So you can go ahead and ask me what you're going to ask me. And my natural response could be to get offended.
Hey, want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right.
You're listening to the 30-something movie podcast. One movie each week. 30 years in the making.
Pat.
John.
This is not like the podcasts. They get 17 takes to get it right. We apparently get 2 because John forgets to hit the record button the first time around. And it lasts our whole lives, Pat. We mess it up and we're dead.
That's it, man.
We're dead. How you doing, Pat?
I'm doing outstandingly well, John.
Good.
I am well.
Good.
I'm all good.
Good. I'm glad. Are you ready for a hard movie?
Oh man, when are we going to release the video of our podcast? I'm ready for this movie.
I thought you were going to say I'm ready for a video podcast.
I'm ready for a video podcast too.
I'm like, okay. I mean, I have a face for radio, so sure, let's do it.
I've got a face for radio. I'm made for radio.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying out like my disc jockey chops in advisories.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I kind of feel like this whole pandemic has turned every teacher into a podcaster.
Yeah, I know.
Now, see, all those kids, and the adults, when I tried to run that summer school class on how to be a YouTuber, because I was like, what could, and that makes it sound like I'm selling potatoes. How to be a YouTuber? I was like, I was going to pick a class. I was like, okay, kids, my own kids, like always talking about, well, I'm going to be a YouTuber when I grow up because I'm going to do this and I'm going to stream video games and I'm totally going to sound like, Clint Eastwood, old man, get off my lawn kind of deal here when I'm like, really? Like people are going to pay you to watch you play video games? I mean, I did that as a kid and I got yelled at to go do my chores. I didn't get paid. So,
I only worked once professionally testing video games.
Yeah.
But no one watched me play.
Right.
I was just testing a game for glitches.
Right.
And I actually got paid. And that's as close as I ever came.
Nice. What game are you testing? Or did you sign an NDA? Because
I was testing a game for PlayStation 2 called Broken Helix.
Oh, okay.
It was a first-person shoot. No, it was like a third-person shooter.
Okay.
And there was like some kind of alien loose in some lab, and you walked around and tried to fight back the alien. And you'd play it up to a certain point, and then the game would glitch, and you'd like write down the time code, and it was a VCR watching you play. And yeah,
that's a pretty sweet gig.
It was nice. It was a nice winter break.
Yeah. Was that college?
That was college.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I got home and my gig was like 6 p.m. till midnight testing video games.
Nice.
Yeah. It's a good time.
It's good work if you can get it.
It's good work. Nice work. But that only lasted like a month.
Okay.
And it never made it into like a YouTube type thing.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
So that's all I got. I think I broke your flow, man.
No. I was just thinking back. I was like, okay, what was I doing at that time? And I was like, I was writing newspaper articles for $10 an article, and sitting at a radio station for like 2 to 3 hours at 1 a.m. trying to interview a guy named Spink. And I was like, please, my editor makes me, I know that you just go by the name Spink as your DJ name, but my editor needs me to write down your full name and your telephone number just for verification purposes. What's your full name? My name's Spink. Okay. Look.
That conversation got done. It's now 1:30 in the morning.
Right. And Spink had like all of the like really late night, like techno ravey music that he would play on the radio station. Because it was one of those one of those little community radio stations that every DJ could just play whatever they felt like playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was like, okay, Spink, what can you tell me about what it's like to be a radio DJ? Right. Like I'll get to play the music that I love, and yeah, and I don't have to go to sleep. Okay. Again, Spink, what's your first and last name and your phone number? Oh, my name is Spink. It's all I go by, Spink. Yeah, but like your birth certificate, like what is it? It doesn't say Spink on your birth certificate. Maybe it does. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
I'd like to know where he is now, but I have a feeling that if I Google Spink, I'm not sure I'm going to find. I'm not sure I'm going to like what I find, so I'm not going to Google that on a work computer or a.
Yeah, it's going to be like that movie Heat. Run a trace on Slick. You'll get the phone book. Do it anyway.
Right. Yeah. So Spink can just fade off into obscurity. All right. Well, Patrick, we are here to watch. We've already watched it. We're here to talk about The Hard Way, which I hear is one of our new Patreon people's favorite movie.
That's awesome. That is outstanding.
I'm totally lying about that. But if you love the movie The Hard Way and you would like to, actually, you would be fulfilling a prophecy if you did this. That I'm not gonna bury the lead here. I don't think Pat liked this movie. We haven't talked about it yet, but I don't think Pat liked this movie. So therefore, if you are a fan of The Hard Way, it is actually required of you to become one of our Patreon co-executive producers, because Pat's batting 1,000 for movies that he does not like, and then people who become Patreon subscribers.
Yeah, you gotta come in and set me straight.
Yeah. So we cannot break the streak. So if you know somebody out there that loves the movie The Hard Way, please, at least for like 1 month, have them sign on to Patreon and support us there on Patreon, just so we can keep the streak going for Pat. Otherwise, he's going to be devastated. I'm going to recreate those Mad magazines where they've got and then they have like the gun up to the dog's head. And they're like, buy this magazine or the dog gets it.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that, but with you, and be like, join us on Patreon, or Pat gets it.
That's it. Pat's done.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is the time in the night when everything is a good idea.
Yes. Yeah. That's the best time. I'm sure that's probably when they wrote The Hard Way too. All right. Well, spoiler alert. We spoil freely, so just be warned. Very quickly also, the 30-something movie podcast is part of the Scene Stealers podcast network. This episode is sponsored by Scene Stealers International Convention Agent, who have a top-class roster of movie and TV stars ready to be booked now for your Comic-Con or event. For more information, check out www.scenestealersglobal.com. And then visit our website, 30podcast.com, where you can rate, leave a voicemail, or become a co-executive producer via Patreon. Especially if you love The Hard Way. All right. Patrick, should we just go ahead? I'm not going to say what I was about to say. Should we go ahead and... Yes. Patrick, should we go ahead and talk about The Hard Way?
Prepare the ship for ludicrous speed.
Prepare the ship. Prepare the podcast for ludicrous speed. All right. This one is called The Hard Way. It came out on the 8th of March, 1991, rated R. A runtime of 1 hour, 51 minutes, directed by John Badham, who also did Saturday Night Fever, Short Circuit, and War Games. Producers on this one were Rob Cohen and William Sackheim, who died in 2004. Cohen did The Wiz and The Running Man. Sackheim did the TV show Gidget and Pacific Heights. Writers for this one were Lem Dobbs, who did the story and screenplay, Michael Kozol, who did the story, and Daniel Pine, who did the screenplay. And we commented last week, Daniel Pine had also done the screenplay for Doc Hollywood. So there was a lot of, what do we want to call that? Cross-pollination of the Michael J. Fox movies.
I love it, man. Cross-pollinate.
It's probably not the right term, but we're going to go with it.
We're going to use it.
Dobbs was also a writer for Dark City and The Limey. Kozol was a writer for Hill Street Blues and First Blood. And Pine, as we said, was a writer for Doc Hollywood and Any Given Sunday. Cinematography by Don McAlpine and Robert Primes. McAlpine did Moulin Rouge and Predator. Primes did Bird on a Wire and Money Talks. Music was done by Arthur B. Rubinstein, who died in 2018, did War Games, Stakeout, and Nick of Time. The budget on this one was $24 million. Box office was $65.6 million. Flickmetrics gives it a 62%. Cinema Score gives it a B. Michael J. Fox played Nick Lang. He was in Teen Wolf, Back to the Future, and Spin City. James Woods plays John Moss. He was in Videodrome, Hercules, and Vampires. Stephen Lang played Party Crasher. He was in Avatar, Tombstone, Gods and Generals. Annabella Sciorra was Susan. She was in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, Jungle Fever, and Law & Order Criminal Intent. John Capodice played Graney. He was in Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, Independence Day, and Speed. Luis Guzman played Pooley. He was in The Count of Monte Cristo, Boogie Nights, and Traffic. LL Cool J, that was, weren't we talking about that a couple of weeks ago? The Count of Monte Cristo, his character of Jacopo?
Yes,
because I was commenting that was like a reflection of sometimes how we feel at work. Mm-hmm. What if I don't want to be a smuggler? Well, then we slit your throat and we're a bit shorthanded. Well, I find that smuggling is the life for me, and I would be delighted to kill your friend the maggot.
Yes.
Oh, you'd like to find an alternative. Okay. LL Cool J played Billy. He was in Deep Blue Sea, Mindhunters, and Halloween H2O. Mary Mara played China. She was in K-Pax, A Civil Action, and Bound. Delroy Lindo played Captain Bricks. He was in Get Shorty, Malcolm X, and The Blood of Heroes. Conrad Roberts played Witherspoon. He was in The Mask of Zorro, The Mosquito Coast, and The Scorpion King. Penny Marshall, related to Chief Justice John Marshall, I believe. That is absolutely not true whatsoever. Died in 2018. That's the ongoing Penny Marshall joke. I think that was Dennis's thing.
Yes.
It wasn't Dennis that he, no, was it Dennis or was it somebody else?
Oh man.
I don't know who it was.
We couldn't redo that bit if we tried. It was all of us.
Yeah.
Everyone got twisted around, and then it was Patty Marshall. No, Penny Marshall.
Yeah. No, it was Marshall Dillon.
Marshall Dillon. And then Bo got in there and he was like, what was the name? He was trying to think of the name of the filmmaker. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it all starts to calm down 10 minutes later. Bo's like, oh, I know it's Steven Spielberg. And it was like, what? Steven Spielberg was the name you forgot? And then Dennis got back in with the pet. Yeah. Yeah. It was 10 minutes of podcasting gold.
Oh, it was fun. It was good times. But this one's Penny Marshall. Yes. She died in 2018, played Angie. She was in Laverne and Shirley, Get Shorty, and Hocus Pocus. Christina Ricci played Bonnie. She was in Mermaids, Addams Family, and Black Snake Moan. And Kathy Najimy played Lang's Girl Friday. She was in Soap Dish, King of the Hill, and Sister Act. Seeking to raise his credibility as an actor and to land a role as a tough cop on a new show, Hollywood action star Nick Lang, Michael J. Fox, works a deal with New York City Police Captain Bricks, played by Delroy Lindo, who by chance is one of his fans. Nick will be paired with Detective Lieutenant John Moss, who played by James Woods, and learn how to act like a real cop. But when Nick drives John crazy with questions and imitating him, he gets in the way of John's pursuit of a serial killer, played by Stephen Lang.
Movie star Nick Lang is looking for a part that could change his image.
You don't want me to grow up. The studio doesn't want me to grow up. I'm the only one who wants me to grow up.
So to play a real cop,
freeze,
he's going to study with the best.
If I can walk his beat, if I can get under his skin, I will nail this part, Angie.
Detective John Moss is on the trail of a killer.
This party crasher has whacked out 7 people. He's gonna do it again soon, today maybe.
And what if this cop doesn't want you tagging after him?
2 pros exchanging ideas. Why wouldn't he want to do it?
Not if you tied my tongue to your tailpipe and drove me 80 miles an hour naked across a field of broken glass.
Evidently, the guy just wants to blend in so nobody knows he's Nick Lang, okay?
Stop! My trainer's got me a Nautilus and the Stairmaster, so you don't have to worry about Nick Lang.
He doesn't belong here. He belongs in Never Never Land.
And you're never gonna believe where I am. I'm in a ghetto.
He's told me face to face that he wants to be me. It's my life.
It's my life.
moved into my house, you know? I'll just do what you do in Hollywood. Rum drinks, fern bar, gerbil racing. You know what's next? You know, my old lady.
What?
I know it.
Tell me.
You just kissed him? You kissed his face? It's getting to where everywhere I look, I see his smiling face. I turn on the TV and I hear his voice.
All of my movies, including The Smoking Guns, are shot on biodegradable film stock.
There's only one way Moss can catch the killer without losing his mind.
NYPD! NYPD!
I have got to get rid of this guy.
Michael J. Fox. James Woods. In a John Badham movie. The Hard Way. Coming soon to a theater near you.
All right, just stop.
All right. Patrick, one word or phrase, and keep it family friendly, on how this movie makes you feel. Okay. One word, phrase, or noise.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also have an anecdote, or I'm sorry. What am I trying to say? A metaphor. Would it be a metaphor or an allegory?
Tell me what it is, and I'll let you know.
You tell me what it is, John.
Lay it on me.
Okay, so imagine you're watching like a football game. It's an important one, so it's like a playoff, maybe the Super Bowl. Lots riding on it, two teams, and all of a sudden, the team you're cheering for, the team you're pulling for, like opening kickoff, guy catches it in the end zone, runs back 100 plus yards, takes it to the house, touchdown. And you're like, oh man, we're off to the races. This is going to be great. This is going to be outstanding. We're going to blow the other team out of the water. It's going to be fantastic. And then it just kind of fizzles out, because then suddenly the other offense comes on, they score, and then the defense gets on there and they stop your team. And the ending's final score is like 465-7. And you were all excited for that initial run back, right? That initial like, right? But it just fizzled out. Like that didn't translate into a whole like successful game. It pains me to say it because I don't want to call the movie out. So by the end of this podcast, my goal is to have enjoyed the movie. Okay, I'm going to get there. But right now I feel like awesome, but it kind of, for me, it kind of fizzled a little bit. So I don't know if that's a metaphor or.
It was a bit of an analogy.
An analogy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's kind of how I feel about the movie. It just, it fizzled a little bit, but man, I don't want to, I want to not be that guy that doesn't like movies. So I'm going to find good things and I'm going to like this movie by the time we get done. And it just fizzled a little bit for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's fair.
I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry.
You don't need to apologize.
I'm going to like it by the end.
You don't have to.
I know, but I want to.
Okay. All right. My one word or phrase is going to be, I've been trying to think about this one, and your analogy, I was like, good, please share an analogy. I need more time to figure out my one word or phrase.
Okay.
My one word or phrase is photocopy.
Okay. I can. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say photocopy because it's not, we'll dig into that a little bit further now. It's fun. It's a buddy cop movie along the same lines as, a Lethal Weapon, Beverly Hills Cop, that type of stuff. And it's there. I mean, it's got the same formula. It's got the same beats to it as those movies. I will say I was never bored by the movie. I think it just kind of, as I was watching it, I was like, oh, that's like what they did in Lethal Weapon. That's like what they did in Beverly Hills Cop. Like there was never really, I don't know that there was anything necessarily about the movie that made me go, oh, that's different. Like it was nearly everything about it. And the trouble that I had is I have a hard time, and I think I think he's that way on purpose. I have a hard time liking James Woods. Like to me, he's just not a likable guy, even when he tries to be a likable guy.
Yeah.
In some of his TV shows and movies. And well, and I'll say it this way too. I have seen some of his, more extreme political posts that he puts up on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
And he and I very much do not share the same political beliefs necessarily.
Okay.
But he's also very outspoken about them and pulls no punches and things like that. And sometimes I'm a little bit more, at least in terms of how I might share some of my beliefs or how I might fit some of my beliefs into a conversation with others.
Right.
I don't, at least not to their face, I don't ridicule other people.
Right.
For any kind of beliefs that they might have. Always try to look at, the different sides. Everybody's got a reason why they believe the things that they do. And just some of the stuff that he puts up online, it kind of colors my interaction with him as a character and as an actor.
Got it.
So I have a hard time. I really like Michael J. Fox, and Michael J. Fox always comes across as such a nice guy. Whether he truly is in real life, I don't know. But he always comes across that way. And James Woods is like the exact polar opposite.
Right.
So to me, it's almost like now the difference is I watch Lethal Weapon and I'm like, you know what? Those two guys, polar opposites of each other. But both of them are likable. And I watch Beverly Hills Cop and I'd be like, Axel Foley, complete opposite of his other partners, but everybody's likable. This movie, James Woods, I could not find a point at which he was likable in this movie, but everybody else was.
Yeah.
So that was a place where it kind of fell apart for me a little bit, but it was also just, there was nothing new about this one. You're doing a buddy cop movie and there's really nothing, there's nothing about it that really says, this is our twist we're putting on this movie.
Yeah.
It all seemed to be pretty much in line with everything else we've ever seen.
And I wanted to watch closely to see if it was satire or if they were poking fun at it or if I could pick up those beats. And I mean, there was some stuff that was maybe tongue in cheek, but I don't know that it was like supposed to be satire, so I'm not sure if I can give it credit for that. And it just, and like you said, I mean, no one's calling me to act in a movie, but like a lot of James Woods mannerisms, he didn't seem to be a very nice guy, but a lot of his mannerisms were so completely over the top that it kind of took it up to 11. And it kind of took me out of the movie a little bit because it was just like, oh my gosh, you're overreacting to like everything. Like you gotta calm it down a little bit, please.
You're going to have a stroke if you keep this up.
Yeah. And that, like I said, that took me out of it a little bit.
Yeah. I think for me, I mean, this, like I said before, I was never bored watching this movie. And I never at one point watching the movie was like, I've wasted 2 hours of my time. Right. The movie, especially for a movie that was an hour and what did I say it was, like an hour and 51 minutes, something like that, almost 2 hours, moved at a pretty good clip. So, I mean, that, the pacing of it, the direction of it, that, all those pieces, even the performances, there were, the two that I will criticize in this are James Woods for the same reasons you said. And then I was going to bring this up later, but I might as well just bring it up now. Stephen Lang as the villain. Yeah. As the party crasher. Like I couldn't, his serial killer villain, I couldn't decide whether that character was meant to be part of the, because buddy cop movies tend to ride this line between comedy and action.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't tell what the villain, like which side of that the villain was supposed to be. Because most times when you have the buddy cop movie, it's the comedy comes in their interactions and some of the situations that the two partner cops get into.
Mm-hmm.
But this movie was like, is the villain supposed to be part of the comedy?
Yeah.
Because I feel like they were also playing like almost like circus clown music whenever the villain would show up. And
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. That was weird. So usually to me, that's when you have a buddy cop movie, the villain is still the villain and it's a clear cut villain. And it's almost like the villain is the serious one all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the two cops break some of the tension by having comedic moments.
Right.
And in this, it was like everybody had a comedic moment.
Yeah.
Except the girlfriend.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. It was the villain was just weird. And I'm still trying to, one of our 3 questions that we're going to ask later is what's the weirdest movie criminal you remember seeing in a movie or you feel like is the weirdest one you've ever seen? I'm still racking my brain to try to decide on that one, but it might actually be this one. Like this was one of the weirdest movie criminals I feel like I have ever seen, to the point where he was so weird. And I have seen Stephen Lang in so many different movies, Avatar, Tombstone, Gettysburg, Gods and Generals, all those. I didn't know it was Stephen Lang until I saw the credits. I was like, wait, what?
Right.
That's who that was?
Right.
Yeah. So it was weird.
It was hard to get a feel. Like I said, it was hard to get a feel for the movie. And what you're talking about is kind of what I was picking up on. Am I laughing? Is it satire? Am I wincing? Is it a kind of a bait and switch where, we're going to go one way and then all of a sudden it's going to be super serious? Like it didn't commit to one direction in my head. So yeah.
Yeah. Now, the other thing, when I read this, I was like, okay, if that's true, that's like one more knock on James Woods. One of the trivia things that I read was one of James Woods' perks for this movie was to have his own personal hairdresser. Did you see that one?
Yeah, I saw that one.
At a cost to the studio of $6,000 a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it said the average on-set hairdresser usually costs about a third of that. I'm like, even a third of that is $2,000 a week.
Yeah, it's a lot of money for your hair.
I mean, we're not doing a video podcast here, but you and I don't have a whole lot of hair.
No, it takes too much time.
We keep right. It's too much to mess with. We keep it pretty short anyway. But I'm like, when I go get a haircut, I agonize over whether I'm going to pay like the extra $5 for the shampoo when I'm done.
Right.
So $2,000 a week.
Yeah, I don't know what to say on that deal.
I mean, if it's $2,000 a week, they should be plucking like every single hair on my head and replacing it with super hair.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know where to go with that.
I don't know where to go either.
That's kind of crazy.
Several $1,000s a week. That's a pretty fancy car.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah. Did you ever see, so now, this was kind of interesting to me. There was something that I read. Have you ever seen the TV series Castle?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Because there's a TV series called Castle. And it has got, let's see, Nathan Fillion is the main actor in that one from, did you ever saw Firefly?
Firefly.
Oh, if you haven't seen Firefly,
should it go on the list?
It needs to go on your list.
All right.
Yeah. It's like a sci-fi Western.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You need to see that. You need to see it. And then you can join the rest of the people who were disappointed when it ended too early.
Okay.
No.
Nice show.
But there's a TV series called Castle, and it's kind of a crime comedy show.
Okay.
In which he is he's like a mystery novelist, and he kind of, I'm trying to remember how he initially gets into it. It's how he initially gets into it is he's got a really bad case of writer's block. Okay. And he then is kind of like brought in by the police department to help. There's a killer that's doing stuff that the killer in his novels did. And so he's originally brought on by the police department to help kind of profile this killer.
Okay.
And then eventually they just kind of keep him on. So he's not really a cop. He's a writer. He's not really a cop, but he kind of ends up doing more and more of the investigative work. And, occasionally he ends up, doing more cop type things. And even though he's really not. And so some people think that The Hard Way was kind of the precursor to that show. It's kind of the idea of like the actor becoming a cop, even though that was not the intention of what he was supposed to be there for.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah. This one, so the basic premise of this movie, is that we've got the actor wants to get this part. So he's going to go join the police department. He's going to be he's doing his own version of undercover, so that nobody knows that he's the actor. But that in and of itself seems kind of ridiculous, because if this Nick Lang person is as popular as he seems to be with his movies, that would be like saying, okay, Mr. Harrison Ford, you really wanted to go work at a Denny's. So why don't we have you go work at Denny's? And nobody's going to recognize you.
Mm-hmm.
So go. That's not going to work.
Yeah. No.
Like, certain celebrities have faces that everyone's going to recognize.
Right.
So already the premise of that is like, yeah, I don't know about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I can even let that go, with the interest of comedy. You know what I'm saying? Because they were like, you're just like, look like that Nick Lang guy, but you're shorter. So it was a running gag, and that was kind of funny. For me, the movie, like, there was no plot or real character growth. You know what I'm saying? Like, the movie didn't go anywhere. It was, they caught the bad guy, but even that was like, he kept escaping and then kept trying to catch him. And then there was one more, it just kind of, there was no climax or big final sequence, or even with the characters, like, they never really became buddies. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, that's kind of my problem with that. Now, Michael J. Fox, I could watch that guy in anything. I think he's fantastic, and he did a great job here. And he kind of kept my interest through the whole thing. But yeah, I don't know. And again, I'm not gonna take a Rogering to this movie, because I don't want to offend any, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But that was just my biggest knock on the movie, is it just kind of blurbled along. I'm like, I'm not, look at Lethal Weapon, and there's growth between the two characters. Each character has their own character arc. This one, the characters kind of stay the same. Well,
you had moments where it looked like it was going to go that direction.
Yeah.
You had moments where, James Woods is, his John Moss character is awkwardly doing the role play in the bar, where he's like, okay, now pretend I'm her. Now tell me what you would tell her. And like that whole thing, he's like, is she seeing other? No. Is she? No.
Mm-hmm.
Are you seeing other men? Like that whole thing of like, do the role play thing. And he's like doing some of the acting pieces. I liked that, because then it was the actor is teaching the cop using what he knows from his like acting classes or acting routines or whatever the case may be. And he's learning some things from the cop. And, he does have, there is that scene where there's kind of the chase and the shootout in the subway.
Mm-hmm.
And, at least he's starting to kind of learn what it means to be a cop or act like a cop or whatever the case may be. So I can see from both of them that they're heading in that direction a little bit. I just feel like once you finally got to that point, then boom, the movie was over.
Yes.
And the whole thing about catching the villain, I'm glad that you brought that up, because the whole thing about catching the villain is, I feel like if you were following the logical progression of this movie, then it should be Michael J. Fox that either catches the villain or really helps to catch the villain, but doing so in a way that uses some of the things that James Woods' character has taught him.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, it was he's angry and he just mashes his foot on the accelerator and they get into an accident.
Right.
Like that's
right.
I don't think James Woods taught him that.
Mm-hmm.
He just was angry and desperate. And it's like, oh, okay. That doesn't seem to have fit with the way the movie was going.
Right.
It seemed like they were going up to a certain point and they were like, all right, this is almost 2 hours long. We got to wrap this up.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like there were some good scenes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's kind of what it was. It seems like they had some really good scenes, and then it was just like, take whatever you need to get from point A to point B and get to those scenes. Like there was no real, like I said, strong character development or story or plot line that strung those scenes together.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Had some great action sequences.
Yeah.
Great car chases and
again, the guy that plays Jacobo in
Count of Monte Cristo.
Count of Monte Cristo was great. Delroy Lindo, great. LL Cool J, great. I mean, but those guys all had bit parts or co-starring and all that kind of stuff. They seemed very they were great. Michael J. Fox was great. Again, I don't know the main, star, the guy that played the main cop. I don't know him that much. Like I said, he just seemed to be playing it big and just always a spaz and it just, that seemed to contrast with his image, which was supposed to be Dirty Harry-esque, right? He was supposed to be do you feel lucky punk? Like that kind of thing. And, his like completely over the top every time Michael J. Fox's character got mentioned kind of weakened that, because like I said, everything was over the top.
Yeah.
So
it's funny that you mentioned Clint Eastwood because did you catch what the name of the movie is? The name of the movie that he's in at the end?
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like I said, I don't know if we want to prolong this for another hour, but there's some stuff in there that makes it seem like a 30-year-old movie. Just, some images, some optics that are a little rough.
Yeah. Now, I did want to, we talked about this before recording. And I did want to say, because I didn't want to pass up the point where I could use this sound clip again. But the part where they were talking and the captain says, we can either do this the easy way or we can do it. And I'm just sitting there going, oh, please, yes, say it. Or we can do it the hard way. And Pat, you know where I'm going with this.
I know where you're going with this, John. I love it.
Boy, I usually only get this excited when they say the title of a movie in the movie. I'm telling you, these drug dealers represent a clear and present danger to the United States. He said it.
All I'm saying is, what if this is as good as it gets?
There it is.
The only way for me to solve this crisis is to be Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
Oh, that's why they call it that.
That is classic writing right there.
Now it's every time that I hear that. Every time. We could do this the easy way or the hard way. You said it.
Yeah. The best part is I have to become Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. That's good.
That's why they call it that.
Yeah. That's funny. That's funny.
Well, I love the, kind of like the movie we were talking about last week where there were all the little like Easter egg things and little hints in there for other Michael J. Fox roles, or Woody Harrelson talking about, Ted Danson in Cheers. And I love all the little pieces in here where Nick Lang, somebody is always like, yeah, I liked you when I was little, but now I like Mel Gibson. And they keep bringing up Mel Gibson. And I liked his one comment at one point. He's like, yeah, they're thinking of going with Mel Gibson. And in his comedy, he's like, is it a butt thing? Like,
Yeah. I know. I think I think they had room. They could have made this more satire. They could have made fun of the genre. And there were a couple spots where I'm like, am I just an idiot? Don't answer that. Or am I just, a simpleton? Again, don't answer that. Did I miss the satire? And then I went back and was like, no, I really didn't. But there were some scenes that just made it like they could have really built that into this movie. And I think would have had a little bit of a, dare I say, like a better product, So.
Yeah, I was kind of looking for that too. And I think there were maybe a few little things like that, kind of, poking fun at the movie industry and actors and things like that. I think there were moments of that. In fact, one of the things I kind of did like was how it kind of blurred the lines at the end there when everybody's like, shut up, we're trying to watch the end credits. And then the end credits, and I thought something else was going to happen because the end credits for the movie they're watching become the end credits of this movie.
Right.
And I was like, oh, something else is going to happen here and then it didn't. I was like, oh, all right, well, that's kind of interesting. That's different. I thought something else was coming, but that's all right. That's okay.
Right.
So, I think there were moments here and there where they were kind of, either picking on or satirizing actors and Hollywood and things like that a little bit. But you're right. I think with a movie like this and the whole premise of the movie, you could have done a little bit more of that.
Right.
So, I think for me, ultimately the weird, quirky villain and the villain's like weird cartoonish clown music, like that knocked me out of the movie every time it happened.
Right.
And yeah, it just kind of, for me, if I'm summing up this movie, for me, it was a buddy cop movie that had a weird villain and not in a good way. And it didn't necessarily bring anything new to buddy cop movies.
Agreed.
If I had a list of buddy cop movies, this wouldn't be the one that I'd reach for to go watch again.
Right.
So,
right.
But again, like I said, I wasn't bored. I don't feel like it was a slow movie. It moved along at a good pace. It was entertaining. It just wasn't, it didn't do it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Michael J. Fox, always amazing.
Yeah.
And like I said, some of those guys I mentioned that were the bit parts / co-stars were fantastic. But yeah, it was just, and then, like I said, you kind of get into inevitably looking at it with a 21st century lens. And there's some stuff in there that's you kind of wince at, I know it was a setup, that, he accidentally shot the wrong guy, but that was just cruel. You know what I'm saying? Like and again, when I watched that, I was like, oh, really? Like, oh God, we're not going here, are we? Then I'm like, I wonder if they set him up. And then they had set him up and it was like, okay, that's okay. I don't know. I don't know about that, guys. I don't know if that scene should be in there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I kind of had the same feeling with that scene. I was like, wow, this movie got heavy fast.
Yeah.
and then about 5 seconds later, I was like, I bet this is a setup.
Yeah.
But
and then it was the setup, and then he got mad, and then he left, and then it kind of came back. Then they had a fight. Then they took the girlfriend, so he went after the girlfriend, but he got the guy, but that still wasn't good enough. And then there was another chase, and yeah. Great music. I mean, the opening tune, that nice trumpet brass kind of like rock thing going on.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was rock, but it was like real brassy kind of it almost sounded like out of the 1970s kind of thing. I loved it. Loved that tune.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, that was the kickoff return, taking it to the house. And then the rest of the movie just was kind of a fizzle.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Agreed. All right. Pat, are you ready for 3 questions?
I'm ready, John.
The asks each traveler 5 questions. 3 questions. 3 questions.
It's impossible to answer.
Impossible because you don't know the answer.
Nobody could answer that question.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to have them answered immediately.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
All right, Patrick. Question number 1. If you were an actor and had to shadow someone for a part, what occupation would you want to do a ride along with?
Oh, man. Well, boy, I don't know. So many options. It would be fun to go through like I say fun, but I mean, it would be pretty amazing to, go through like if it was going to be like an action movie or something, to go through like, a SEAL training course, or something like that. I say that humbly because I'd probably get my butt whooped, 6 ways from Sunday through that, but that would be pretty fascinating. Like race car driver, right? That'd be pretty cool. Or even like a stunt driver or a stunt coordinator or something like that. I don't know. I don't have specifics, but those would be 3 things that would be I think that would be fun to check out.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine, I think mine that I kind of narrowed it down to would be, movie director.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to just like be on the set of a movie or a TV show, or, whether it's director, cinematographer, or, some of that stuff. I think that would be fun to just get a day to just, shadow one of those folks. And it was fun when Dennis and I got to be on the set of The Dark Knight. It was fun to get to watch, Christopher Nolan do his thing. We weren't very close, so we couldn't really see like up close what he was doing, but you could kind of get a sense of as he's directing the scene. And, he really not a fan of natural light, we found out.
Okay.
When some shadows came through the buildings and messed up his natural light for the scene, he was like, well, we're probably just done for the day then. He's like complaining and like getting really upset. And so they got a few takes in, then he's like, stupid shadows.
Okay.
Like, we're done. Send everybody back to the waiting room. So.
Oh, funny.
No, probably that though. Probably something like a movie director or something similar.
Cool.
All right. Question number 2, weirdest movie criminal. I mean, I think the Party Crasher is up there.
Yeah. Party Crasher's up there.
Because he's just weird.
Weirdest movie. Okay. So no TV shows.
You could do TV show. If you want to do TV show, you could. Let's say weirdest on-screen criminal.
Okay, weirdest, or like, could it be creepiest? Or are we looking for weird?
You could.
Let's keep it weird.
Let's keep it weird.
Focus.
Let's keep it weird. I'm going to say for me.
Where are you going, John? Where are you going with this?
Well, I got a couple. Mr. Freeze.
Okay.
From Batman and Robin. Terrible version of the character. Bane in Batman and Robin. Terrible version of that character. The other one, what was the other one I was thinking of? The villain in the Green Lantern movie that everybody wants to forget. Hector Hammond was that guy's name.
Okay.
That was kind of weird. Yeah, I don't know. It might be the Party Crasher. Like, this is probably one of the weirdest. Like, he almost wasn't, as a villain, he almost wasn't intimidating or scary. Because I couldn't quite figure out what he was. I mean, the only time he seemed, I mean, he was shooting, of course, he was shooting people up, and he was, blowing up buildings and things like that. But I couldn't quite understand what his character was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like at some point he seemed to be like there were moments where he seemed like he was obsessed with Nick Lang and the Hollywood actor thing, but he was the party crasher way before Nick Lang came into the movie.
Yeah.
So I couldn't quite understand clearly he was crazy.
Yeah.
But I couldn't quite understand his crazy.
Yeah.
And I feel like when a movie villain is crazy, even with somebody as sometimes random and chaotic as the Joker, like at least that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's totally something the Joker would do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Joker would totally say that. And like that's hilarious. That's just the kind of humor that the Joker has. But with this one, I was like, the party crasher. What do I know about the party crasher? He likes to go to parties and kill people.
Yeah.
Other than that, he's a weird dude.
Yeah.
So might be the party crasher. That might be my answer.
Well, and it's funny. I took this question in a slightly different direction, and not like weird, like that's a weird choice.
Yeah.
But like weirding you out. And I picked the Joker from The Dark Knight.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I did, but I took this question a different way. Like,
oh, that's fine.
I mean, the Untouchables, the Al Capone character, not weird.
Yeah.
Right. Khan Noonien Singh.
Yeah.
Not weird.
Right.
Gul Dukat, not weird. Like those characters, but like the Joker in The Dark Knight, he's a weird dude.
Yeah.
And that makes it even more scary because, and that was a whole part of the plot, right? Like they couldn't figure out what made him tick. That was, spoilers. Dark Knight, spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
That's when Alfred's talking to Bruce Wayne and just says, you know what? You're trying to figure the guy out. He just maybe wants to see the world burn. Like he's just a weird dude. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of how I interpreted the question. So I got, I forgot his name, Joker.
Yeah.
The Joker, or one that we are going to be talking about, for one of our patron specials, but like Raiders of the Lost Ark, Tote, he was a weird dude. And again, not from the aspect of like, man, I don't get what his motivations are. Like, that's just a weird character. But like, dude, that's just a weird, like, he's just a bad guy. He's just a weird dude. Even the other bad guys think he's weird, so that's kind of how I interpreted it. So those are the two that came to mind, either the Joker from The Dark Knight or Tote, however you say it, from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah. Now, the other ones that I thought of, and I cannot believe I forgot this one at first, because this is, and I think I've said this a few times now lately, that I have not seen this movie since I first saw it in the theater. I did not like it when I first saw it in the theater. I think I've seen this movie twice, but it's been 20 plus years since I've seen it. One of my least favorite movies is The Fifth Element.
Oh, okay.
And Zorg, Gary Oldman's character. Like, that's just a weird. And at the time, like, even as a kid, I was like, what am I watching? I don't even know what's going on in this movie. What am I, like, this movie should have all the elements that I, as a kid who loves sci-fi, should enjoy. And I like weird, quirky stuff too. And I don't know, I just did not like that movie. So I have memories of how much I didn't like that movie. But I have said a couple times now, like, you know what? It's been 20 plus years. I probably should watch it again.
Right.
Because there may be things, tastes change. You didn't like asparagus as a kid. Maybe you like it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the only other one I could think of, and it's been a while since I've seen this one, and I did not see this one all the way through. And I'm not even going to ask, Pat, if you've seen this one before, because I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark and say you have not.
Okay.
There is a movie from 2005, Pat.
Okay.
In which Gary Busey, so we go from James Woods to Gary Busey. Gary Busey plays the Ginger Dead Man.
Oh God, the Ginger Dead Man.
Yeah.
All right.
Basically, it's Child's Play, but instead of the killer ending up in the body of a doll,
a gingerbread cookie.
He's baked into a gingerbread cookie.
Oh,
and he becomes a killer gingerbread man.
That'd be pretty weird, man.
Yeah. Now, you want to take it a step further?
Oh, yes.
Let's take it a step further. It gets weirder, and I have not seen the other movie. There was another movie, apparently in the same universe, called Evil Bong, where it was like this living evil bong. I mean, the title says it all.
There it is.
Pat, in 2013, there was a movie, The Ginger Dead Man versus Evil Bong.
Oh, it just gets weirder.
It just gets weirder.
Just gets weirder.
Yep.
Oh.
So I have not seen that one. I have seen more parts of Ginger Dead Man than I would like to admit.
Right. So we won't admit it, but
yeah. Yeah. So there's other weird stuff out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Believe it.
Yeah. And frankly, if you want to give yourself nightmares, just Google image search pictures of the Ginger Dead Man.
Okay, I'll check up Ginger Dead Man.
And just the Ginger Dead Man's face will just give you nightmares.
Okay, and so, well, I'll do it while I'm watching Cheers reruns.
Do that while you watch Cheers, yeah, because then that kind of tempers it a little bit.
It'll temper it. Temper it.
Question 3: favorite subway scene in a movie?
Oh, come on.
You and I may have the same answer.
Yeah, I'm saying Matrix.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah,
that was mine too. Ghostbusters 2, also funny.
Very nice.
Winston.
Hello. Hey.
Yeah.
Hey.
Winston. Yeah.
Good stuff.
No, that was immediately when I wrote this question down. I was like, all right, favorite subway scene in the movie. Well, there's like Superman. There was like a scene in the subway in Superman.
Mm-hmm.
There's Speed. There's it. Oh, there's the Matrix. Never mind. I'm all done. I'm done. I'm all good here now.
Why isn't he running? He's beginning to believe. I can't wait to do that movie.
Mr. Anderson. Yep. I did show, it was because we were.
You seem surprised to see me again, Mr. Anderson. I mean, like, you talk about the importance of having the right guy play the villain.
Oh, yeah.
Bam.
Yeah.
Bam. Right there.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to be on like the top 5 greatest villains of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Gul Dukat, Khan Singh,
Agent Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that'll have to be our, like, whatever 100th episode or something, like greatest villains.
That would be a good one. That's a good one. I know we got some ideas floating around for episode 400. So
yeah, we got to do a Western one in there too.
Oh, that's true.
Maybe we don't have to do a Western one. I love Westerns. I think a Western one would be fun.
I care.
Hey, you're letting us do the Guns of Navarone, so
that's true.
I'm content.
That's true.
I can, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Wait a minute?
What's that?
Did you give your answer?
Oh yeah,
Matrix.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no,
that's right. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Immediately, I was like, nope, Matrix.
Matrix. I mean, we could say,
another. Actually, you know what? Another good one. If I wanted to do something different, because you've already got Matrix, I could say Ghost.
There you go.
That was a good subway scene.
There was another one. What was the one? Okay, Speed was a bus.
Mm-hmm.
But didn't it end up on the subway?
Yeah, the end of the movie, they end up on the subway.
Yeah. Mission Impossible has a great subway scene.
Yep.
There's a lot out there. Taking a Pelham 123 or 231, or have you seen those? There was a remake too.
Yeah.
Was it 123?
Yeah, I think it's 123. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the original and the remake. Both of those are good.
You had the like weird, creepy subway scenes in Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
Yeah. All good stuff.
Yes.
I was making the mistake of going through and starting to look at a list.
Mm-hmm.
We got The Warriors, 1979. That's got some good subway scenes.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, how could I forget this one? Spider-Man 2.
Mm-hmm.
The one where he saves the subway train.
Yep.
Snaps all the webs under the buildings and, pulls it and stops it from jumping the track.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good.
Oh, haven't seen it yet, but on this list, number 3 on the list of greatest subway scenes in movies is The French Connection.
Ah, yeah. Hello.
I'm really looking forward to that. I've been wanting to watch that movie for years.
It's quite a movie, man. It's pretty awesome.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's pretty awesome.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this one. Kind of final verdict is not what we wanted it to be.
Yeah, but
not terrible.
I won't tell you not to go see it.
Right. Not terrible. Still has entertainment value.
Yep.
If I can squint enough so that I don't see James Woods, it's got entertainment value.
You're not a fan.
And not really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's just, I don't know. There's a handful of actors that I just, if they're in something, I'm like, I'm going to try to find something else. Yeah. He would be one of them for me.
Yeah.
No. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this one. If you want to find more of our episodes, head over to 30podcast.com. We are at 30podcast on all the different social media outlets, so you can find us there that way. You can leave us a voicemail on our website as well. Also, don't forget to check out our sponsor and the rest of the shows in the Scene Stealers podcast network by heading over to scenestealersglobal.com. Our next episode's coming up. We are still in our California Dreams month. Next one coming up, if you are a Patreon subscriber, you will have access to Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's coming out in just a few days. 40th anniversary episode. And then we've got LA Story and Career Opportunities, finish off our California Dreams month. And then May is our Crime Doesn't Pay. Boys in the Hood, Bugsy. The May Patreon is, as I mentioned a moment ago, The French Connection. The Last Boy Scout and Point Break finish off the month of May. And then in June, we've got the Shots Fired month. That is Ricochet, JFK. June Patreon is Guns of the Navarone from 1961, Naked Gun 2.5, Hot Shots, and Toy Soldiers. So those are the movies that are going to round out June for us. So if you are looking to get a little bit ahead, you can track those down, watch those before we do the show, and then come on back and listen. So as always, thank you, Pat.
Thank you, John. This was a good time.
Always a good time. Always a good time. All right, everybody, be excellent to each other. Go watch some good movies. We'll see you back here next time.